Trying to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal.
And the fans want one. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
Jason,
That's me.
as we're recording this, Anaheim has made a big move to bolster their offense.
Okay, let me see. Who will not help us in any significant way? Did we get a new power play specialist?
You could say that. Unfortunately, I'm not talking about the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh.
Yeah, because
Angels.
come on, you should have known right when I said the
I was going to say a
Anaheim
coach
team
of
made
some
a
sort.
big
I
move.
thought it would be like a coach, not personnel wise. So
we all know Bob Murray is not making a big move, but no, the Anaheim Angels have apparently added Anthony Rendon.
Oh,
And
Rendon,
so-
that guy.
yeah,
He does all those things with
does
stuff.
those things and does the stuff.
Yeah,
but,
he's always involved.
Hey, maybe
with
he can play
ball
hockey.
games.
who knows? He's in an off season right now.
Yeah, he's got nothing better to
Can he shoot
do.
a puck? Can he put a puck in? I mean, he can hit home runs. Can he put a?
He's
can he put a puck in the
right-handed.
back
Is
of
he
the net?
right-handed, and can he stand on his skates?
Can we put him in the circle on the power play and just feed him pucks at like waist height, and can he just smack them into the net? Can he do that? If he can do that, then he gets a spot on the power play in the Ovechkin spot. Nonetheless.
Now I'm interested because I have no idea who this guy is or how it's important. How much money did he sign for, if you know? And I just want to see how much more that is than anybody else on our team.
I don't think it's been announced yet. I think I'm not following it too closely, but just because literally everybody on our Twitter is either an Angels fan or a fan of Anaheim sports in general. So I hear he's signing with them. I don't know what it is, but it's probably a lot of money. It's baseball free agency is kind of the same as hockey free agency or any free agency where guys get silly money.
Yeah, there's a pitcher the Angels were going after, but Yankees
Cole
got him.
was supposed to go to the Angels, and then he went to the
And that's
Yankees.
getting what, like $38 or $36 million a year or something like that.
He's
Just
got
insanity.
9 years at $324 million. And everybody in the chat is saying that Rendon has $245 million over 7 years.
Oh,
Put that into perspective, like a top NHLer
is he-
in this league would get $70 million over 7 years. Like that's an
Well-
elite player. That's like one of the best players in the league. You're getting this, if you're best player in the NHL,
beyond that.
you're getting 77, maybe. Well, yes, I guess 77 million over 7 years, 11 million AAV. Like that means you're a top 5, top 10 player in this league. And not to say like Rendon, I know a little bit about baseball. He's a very good player, and he's one of the better third basemen in the MLB.
There we go.
But he is making.
Wait, was he on Colorado, and was he traded, or was he just signed as a free agent?
So he was on Washington last year, the team that won the World Series, and so then he was a free agent, so he just signed. But he is a great player. But to think that a guy who's not even the best in his position in his sport is getting paid $245 million over 7 years, and to be the best player in the NHL, you're making what? What is that? What is 77 on that? Like a quarter of that?
Oh. And I'd wager hockey players are better athletes, but I thought the Angels' problems was always pitching. And offense, I guess sometimes. I mean, even though they got Trout and all that fun stuff,
It's just Trout.
I used to follow baseball. I used to follow the Angels a little bit, and then it's so boring. Sorry, I can't get over it. It's just boring.
Brett just said you guys aren't going anywhere, right? Need some good news. One of his favorite YouTubers are being dropped from their company. No, we're not leaving. We've maybe been inconsistent, but we're sticking around.
Yeah.
Jimmy said,
you guys are stuck with us. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. We're sticking around. Jimmy said Garrett Cole gets a check for $3 million every 2 months for 9 years. all of a sudden tomorrow, Garrett Cole announces that he has a career-ending injury and he's going to sit back and
he doesn't have to pitch a good game for the rest of his life, and his great grandkids are set up for life. So
he does have to live in New York, though.
Well, I'm sure he could actually live outside of New York and then fly a private helicopter into every game and
the
practice.
Punishment is to make $3 million every 2 months for 9 years. You have to live in New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah, that should be like mandatory. Like instead of luxury tax, there's like a New York tax. Like, listen, if you play for the Yankees, you got to live over here in the armpit of America.
All right. Well, let's why are we talking about baseball?
And that's our baseball segment. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. You're welcome. I guess that's the show then. We'll.
Yep. Good night. It's been great.
We'll be back when the Angels sign somebody else. No.
Yes.
So the Ducks had 2 games over since our last show. They played Winnipeg and they played Minnesota. Lost 3-2 to the Jets. Won 3-2 in a shootout to the Wild. We'll start with the Winnipeg game. Kind of brief breakdown of that. Not a great performance, but better than the last time they played the Jets, right? It was a bit of a closer game.
Scored a goal.
Yeah. 3-0 loss, I think, to the Jets last time, right? And then now 3-2 on the road for this one too. So it's always tough going into Winnipeg and trying to get a win. And it was a weird time too. Wasn't this like a 1 p.m. start for you, or was that? I think it was, right?
No, I didn't think it was. I mean, wait, what day was it on?
Was that the Washington game? That was a weird start. One of the last 2 games before this was a weird start.
Yeah, let me look up real quick. The Washington game. Oh, it's not going to tell me what time it was on. Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, we'll go with that.
we'll go with that. But
yeah, well, I mean, it's our first visit into Canada this whole season. And I was talking to you earlier about it. We don't even go back to Canada until February. So we don't visit Canada a whole lot this year.
I thought they'd been already.
No, that was the first.
Yeah, I guess the other Winnipeg game was in Anaheim. Well, yeah. Trips to Canada never go well for the Ducks lately, especially when I go. And I guess when Pat goes. So
I guess.
Went to the last... Well, actually, last year's Ducks-Leafs game was the first game I went to see the Ducks in Toronto for, I think, 3 years. But every time before that, they've always lost. Every time I've seen them play in Toronto, they always lose. And they come once a year. So it's never good. Even when Toronto was bad, the Ducks just always seem to struggle to win in Toronto. I mean, obviously, Ottawa and Montreal have been a little bit better to them, but Toronto always just seems to be a tough one. And I guess Winnipeg, as of late, I mean, we know Winnipeg's a tough place to play, but they made an effort out of it. But there were some noteworthy points from that game. Getzlaf fought Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird one. I don't know what Ehlers was doing on that one, because there was a little bit of a hit from Getzlaf, and maybe didn't like it, but. For the most part, whenever Getzlaf does that, people just kind of see that it's Getzlaf and usually let it slide and know that it's not malicious or anything like that. But I think he's just like, damn it, that hurt. He slashed him, and it still hurt, so he wanted to fight him for it. And yeah, ill-advised. Getzlaf's still a big boy that's still willing to drop it. And he was feisty in the game against Washington, and so it was still good to see him kind of get in there and go and do what Getza used to do. But I always get a little bit more amped when he's willing to drop the gloves and go after somebody else and win that fight, and did it handily. So I don't know if you ever caught it. They had. You'll have the Ducks announcers, but they also have the Winnipeg announcers. Mm-hmm. The Winnipeg guys were just going about how awesome Ehlers did in that. Like, it's like, oh, he's holding his own. Oh, he almost landed that one. Oh, Getzlaf got lucky on that. I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, we're watching the same fight here. It was funny to hear the Homer side on their side.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised Ehlers didn't get mauled. I mean, Getzlaf isn't a great fighter. He's just a big guy. And Ehlers is kind of small, so I guess a bit surprising he held his own there. What is this now, 3 games in a row or 4 games in a row the Ducks have had a fight? Because they fought in Washington, they fought in Winnipeg, and they fought last night against Minnesota. I can't remember if they fought in the first game on December 2nd or not. I don't know. It's at least 3.
No, from what I mean, that one was a boring game, I think, so I don't remember hearing about a fight, but Sure would be good if Pat ever got on the podcast. He could let us know he was at that game. But
Yeah.
he's not coming.
He's not coming.
But I like it. I like when those fights are kind of happening, and when they're justified, or someone's willing to do it. I like when the Ducks kind of have that edge to them. I feel like it gets everyone a little bit more engaged versus them really trying to, oh, hey, let's X's and O's. Let's, try and do all the offense and try to look pretty and that sort of deal. Every now and again, just get the blood flowing and get into the game a little bit. Sometimes I notice we lack that a little bit, across the board. So a few good hits, a punch thrown here and there, that the team really kind of seems to come to life a little bit more. Makes the games more fun to watch.
Looks like we've been gifted an emoji that looks identical to Pat in our chat.
Really?
Well, Dave just
Is it a
put
giant
in the chat.
head?
It just it looks like Pat. I don't know what to tell you. It looks like Pat. So we got.
Yeah.
I'll take it. But
What's up, Pat?
Anyway, I had to bring that up. But anyway, the last night the Ducks took on the Minnesota Wild. Bruce Boudreau making I guess not his return, but another appearance. Coaching the Minnesota Wild, which is surprising that he stuck around. The Wild have turned things around, and they're actually playing some decent hockey right now. So
Yep.
Boudreau's job is safe for now, despite, almost every coach getting fired in this league. What's that, 5 coaches now out of 31 teams who've seen themselves get canned this year. But Brucey's safe for now, but the Ducks end up winning this one 3-2 in a shootout after leading 2-0 and letting the Wild kind of squeak back into this one. Where do we even start with this one? I guess Josh Manson returned to the lineup,
Yep.
his first game back, playing with Hampus Lindholm. Almost said Josh Lindholm. That's how long both of them have been out of the lineup for. We're just making up names of guys who are. There could be a Josh Lindholm who's played for the Ducks this season. The amount of injuries we've had on the blue line, who knows? But and then Sam Steele was scratched. So Sam Carrick. Coming into the lineup, we talked about this on the last podcast that we'd likely see Sam Carrick jump in. Did not expect him to just take Sam Steele's spot and center Rickard Rakell and Jakob Silfverberg, but he looked not bad.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, and there's a couple of things Sam Steele did in the Winnipeg game where just. It's the same thing with most of the younger players, and we've talked about it before. It's just, little things, and they're just kind of either mishandling or puck protection, like making the smart plays when they have the puck. And sometimes Sam wasn't quite doing that in the Winnipeg game at certain times. I happened to notice it. I didn't really kind of go like, oh, that's really bad. It was just something like, oh, it's a little bit off. And even Bob Murray was, talking a little bit about, moving guys in and out of the lineup when he was talking about Josh Manson coming back, and now with Richie being out for a significant amount of time. He goes, we watch the younger players and see what they do, and then we kind of really just, if there's things that we don't like in their game, we just we want to take them out before they start losing confidence, and start putting them back in the AHL, say, hey, work on this, get this down. This is what we've noticed over the last little times. Just work on that without the pressure of being on the NHL team, and then we'll bring you back and let you have another go at it. So, like I said, it's good to pull out for a little bit and just look at the game from a different perspective and see what works. And, Carrick deserved his shot, and he was kind of brought in because there's a possibility of those injuries and things like that. So.
Yeah, it was kind of writing on the wall for Sam Steele. We forgot to mention it, but in the Winnipeg game, he was benched for most of the third period too. So it kind of felt like this was going to happen. But yeah, I think the surprising part was seeing Sam Carrick jump into the top 6. Usually he's a guy filling in the bottom 6, but and you would assume that it would have been Henrique and Getzlaf as 1-2. But the pairing of Henrique specifically with Andre Kasha and now Maxime Comtois kind of slotting in on that line, that's something they've seen before, and I think the familiarity there, they wanted to try and keep that chemistry going. And Rickard Rakell and Jakob Silfverberg, no matter who centered them this year, whether it's been Isaac Lindstrom or Sam Steele or Adam Henrique and now Sam Carrick, doesn't really matter because they've just been good as a duo all year. So it gives the Ducks that flexibility to just, I don't want to say just throw a guy down the middle, because Sam Carrick deserves a little bit more credit than that. And the way he played, I thought he had a pretty good game and looked dangerous at times. Probably should have had a goal. He got stopped, I think, twice in a lone by Capo Kakinen. But those two players, I mean, Silfverberg and Raquel, I think you could throw Getzlaf in the mix there, but definitely the two Swedes have been probably two of the Ducks' best players this year.
Yeah, and it's weird. The Ducks always kind of have that. They always got two guys on any given line that tend to work, and then you rotate whoever the other person is. And whether it's, Correa, Solani, or then you have, Getzlaf and Perry, there's just, at least with Correa and Solani, there was Ruchin. It all kind of worked out, but it was just, and then now with Raquel and Silfverberg, it's kind of like, you can rotate whoever in. Those guys are going to kind of do what they're going to do anyways. So they've definitely been good this season.
Yeah. But it was nice to see Carrick get in there and play well. I mean, he gets rewarded for being arguably San Diego's most valuable player this year. So it is nice to see him get in there and have a good performance. I want to get your opinion on John Gibson, because the tough outing in a way for him. I think primarily because of that Hartman goal, the first goal for the Minnesota Wild. It was a tough shot. One, he's going to want to get back. He kind of whiffed on it a bit. It was dipping and spinning. It was kind of a knuckle shot, and tough one maybe to pick up and read. But then the second goal too was one that I don't know if he'd want it back, because it is tough to kind of move over and kind of, I guess, close in on that angle from where Donato shot the puck from. Maybe not his best performance, but I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
No, I still thought he had a solid game in that Minnesota game. He's definitely going to want that first one back, but it's not that the puck was dipping or was fluttering or anything. I mean, the shot was pretty steady. It was just in a sweet spot where it was at the bottom of a blocker or the top of the pad. And he didn't have enough confidence that it was going to hit the top of the pad, that it would go slightly over that. So he kind of reached with the blocker, but when he did, he caught just kind of the bottom part of it, which caused it to drop down, hit the top of the pad, and then kind of deflect back towards the net. And you can see he tries to move on it, and it just, where it hit, it was just in that sweet spot. If he had that blocker down maybe a little bit more, he could have directed it towards the corner. I think he was going to do it. It wasn't like it surprised him or anything. It was just kind of putting in a decent enough spot, and he just probably misplayed a little bit. Definitely wants it back, but those will happen every now and again. So at least it didn't come back to be a hugely significant goal where they lost 2 points or something out of it. The other one, that one's tough. It starts on the left side, goes behind the net. He drops down to cover everything down low, has to go up against the post on his stick side, and he's looking back at the play happening, and it's a quick pass out. When you're down and out like that, covering down low, you can't really start looking too much at what's happening over there when this guy's got it on his forehand, because he can pass it anywhere. You got to pay attention to what he's doing. You rely a little bit on your defense to kind of guard guys who might be open or receive a pass. And I can't think of who it was who got the puck. But what he did is he got it and he fired it right away. Yeah, and right. So there was an opening. Yeah. So there was an opening just over Gibby's shoulder, short side, but it was in tight, up high. It was a good shot, quick. If he had held on to it, Gibby gets up higher and maybe takes it away, but it was just so quick, and Gibby had to track where it was, and by the time he tracked where it was, the shot was already off the guy's stick. So at that point, you're just like, I hope it hits me. It's in tight. Hopefully it does, but it got put in a good spot. I don't really blame Gibson on that one. I'd rather see somebody tie up the stick or be somewhere in the vicinity of maybe breaking up that pass, but so not a bad game in my opinion on what he did there. And it's also tough when you only face one shot in the first half of a game. Yeah. It's hard to get a feel for where the puck is. At
one point, shots went 19-1, and then the Wild got 2 shots after. Their second shot was someone dumped it in on Gibby from the Wild's own end, and the whoever was counting the shots just decided to say, okay, that's a shot on goal.
We're gonna count that one.
Felt bad a little bit, and then the second one was one that it missed the net, and then Gibby kind of just gloved it down, and they called that the third shot on goal. So I felt like they were feeling sorry for the Ducks at that point. But yeah, shots halfway through the.
Oh, they felt bad. They felt bad for Minnesota. I mean, they're being horrifically outshot in their building. It's like, yeah, we'll just start counting anything.
The fans were jeering any shot attempt they got at one point.
Bronx cheer is what we call that. Yeah. Oh, good, you did something. Congratulations.
Which is surprising. The Wild. It's not like the Wild have been a bad team at home. Their home record going into last night was 7-1-2. And that regulation loss came in their home opener. So they've been undefeated in regulation still since that home opener loss. They're now 7-0-3. So I get it. I can understand. I mean, getting outshot 19-1. The fans have all the right in the world to kind of get on the players there. But they've been a good home team, right? So like it's tough to get on them. And plus they were only down 1-0 and 2-0, right? Yeah. So I mean, if you were down 4-0 and you're getting outshot like 20-1, sure. I felt like they jumped on the Wild a bit early there.
Yeah, it's the state of hockey, so they can do whatever they want. But the other thing is, this always tends to happen to the home team whenever they have like a ceremony prior to the game, and they were honoring Mikko Koivu playing 1,000 games. I don't know. Whenever the Ducks have that, they always start really bad to begin with. It never works out in the home team's favor, I've noticed. So maybe that was just it, just kind of getting it going. It didn't help that. Didn't Eric Stahl get completely demolished by the linesman?
That's what I wanted to bring up too. It's like
That's the best hit of the game.
Got decked by the linesman. A legal hit because the linesman left his feet. And,
it's being reviewed by the league.
Or a concussion, but it looked like a shoulder. That was brutal. Like, I mean, again, I want to say the linesman needs to get out of the way there, which he probably should have.
He's on the board. He tried everything he could.
Yeah, he tried it.
Like, the hit was coming, and the linesman was like, "I got nowhere to go. I'm gonna get up high and try and brace myself." Because sometimes they'll jump up and try and hold on to the glass up high if they can, or at least I've seen refs do that. But yeah, there was just. The hit was coming. The ref was there. There was no way for him to get out of the way without jumping into the middle of the ice, and who knows what happens at that point. So their job is to stay on the boards as best they can. But, it's just weird. He avoids the hit, kind of, but then ends up going right into the linesman and just demolished.
Yeah, and at that point, with Koivu and Stahl both out, the Wild's number one defenseman was Victor Rask, I think, for most of that game. Because no Mikael Granlund, because they traded him away. So their center depth is pretty weak right now. Ducks really couldn't take advantage of that, to be honest. I thought that with him going out, even Ehlers and Hayward kind of mentioned that with those two out of the lineup, the Ducks should be able to at least dominate down the middle with having a fully healthy, you would presume, with Getzlaf and Adam Henrique, and I guess to some extent Sam Carrick and Derek Grant as well, but they really couldn't. One guy I want to talk about, because he did make his return, and we kind of prefaced it in our last show, was Josh Manson. Returns against the Minnesota Wild, back with his running mate Hampus Lindholm, and they were dominant.
Running mate, I like that. 2020.
That is, that's definitely a Ehlers. That's an Ehlerism. I guarantee an Allerism. I feel like I've heard that.
It's contagious.
It was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, I've heard this somewhere. Definitely an Ehlers thing for sure. But anyway, he was back with Lindholm. They played just over 20 minutes together. I think that was at even strength. Maybe it was throughout the entire game. But anyway, 61.29 Corsi for percentage, so they controlled shot attempts, expected goals of over 67%. And big one for me, no high danger chances against. So they're back. I know it's early, it's one game, but they're back to being their best defensively, being the shutdown pairing for the Ducks, playing all the important minutes, and that's what we wanted to see. That's what we were waiting for, is to see Josh back with Hampus Lindholm and them doing their thing. That's what the Ducks need, is that pairing to be at its best.
Yeah, and I also think it helped out a lot on defense. Not on defense, but obviously on defense, but on the penalty kill. Because it's kind of almost a little bit a mirror image of what was going on in the Winnipeg game, where we're down in the last 5 minutes or so and we take a penalty. And within 30 seconds of taking that penalty, we give up what eventually is the game-winning goal to Scheifele. And in this one, same thing. Penalty late in the game where the momentum could have easily swung the rest of the way to Minnesota, and then you get a sniff. And for most of the penalty killing effort that Josh Manson was in there wasn't much that Minnesota was able to do. There was a lot of get the puck out, close gaps, make smart decisions with it when they had it. And it wasn't nearly as much panic or running around that I noticed. when Manson was in there. So I think it brings a little bit more of that calming element, just someone who's got enough games, enough experience under his belt to know what to do and when to do it. And when we're asking Brunson to do it or Delzato to do it or one of the kids or Larson or Mahura to try and do something like that or Gooley, it just, there's a little bit of uneasiness on their end that kind of permeates throughout the entire penalty killing core. So it's good to kind of have that solidified and tapered down. That kind of helped us out there, I thought.
Yeah, and Maxime Comtois also, I think this was his first game, right? Since getting called up because he was scratched for the other one. So he got into his first game. I don't want to say he looked bad, but he wasn't great for most of the game.
I'll say it. He wasn't good. He really wasn't during the
noticeable game. in a good way, at least. I mean, again.
The one time I did notice him is when he did a great forecheck, got it away, started going to the corner, and then just fell. And then tried to like knock it away, and they couldn't quite reach it. I was just like, dude. Whenever someone does that, I always yell "sniper" in the building because it just looks like they're shot down for no reason. There's whatever. But I noticed him on a couple of plays. Once again, we talked a little bit about it. The decisions with the puck and good decisions with the puck. And a lot of times he kind of had it, and he was kind of dangling, let people get closer to him, and bobbled some plays here and there. And it's just wasn't good decision making for the most part from what I saw.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I mean, we bring up analytics a lot, and I think if you just looked at the analytics for Comtois in this game, you would have probably thought he had a good game. He was one of the, I think, Ducks' top 5 players when it came to shot attempts and Corsi for percentage and other, the rest of his underlying numbers were pretty good. But I just think, again, his decision making, which is something you generally see from watching the game, was not great, and I think you got to kind of link the two here and the analytics and the eye test to kind of see what type of game Comtois had. It wasn't an awful game by any means. I think he played solid for the most part, but just some of the decisions he made and I guess some of the decisions he didn't make on the offensive side of the puck weren't great. But he ended up being the hero. Scored the shootout winner. It was a pretty nice move. So in the end, I guess he was never going to be the GOAT, but he goes from being the proverbial GOAT to the hero and getting the shootout winner.
Yeah, and not to just ignore what Raquel did, because I mean, without Raquel's goal, even that Comtois goal doesn't actually become the game winner. So Gibby did a good job too. Always going to give love to the goalies, but I liked Raquel's move too. He just kind of outweighted him, waited for the goalie to go down, roofed it. Same thing that Comtois did. He made it look a lot cleaner and a lot nicer. So especially when you go backhand like that.
Yeah, and it would be nice to see him consistently get on the score sheet. I think Max Jones, Garrett had tweeted us that Max Jones scored for San Diego tonight, so it's nice to see him getting some goals down there. But we need to see either Comtois or Jones or even Steele and Terry to the same extent putting the puck in the back of the net on a consistent basis for the Ducks, because none of them have so far this season. So even though it's a shootout goal and it doesn't count on his totals, hopefully that's a bit of a confidence booster for Comtois as his first shootout attempt. So just being given the opportunity, especially not after not playing a great game, to kind of be the hero and play the hero in that game. I know it's kind of cliche to say that's going to be a confidence booster, but you can hope you can build some momentum at least off a big win, and having a hand in that win and getting in the shootout can hopefully lead to good things for Maxime.
Yeah, I hope. I'd rather him just be consistent and, like I said, make better decisions. And who knows, a first game back in a long time, sometimes it takes a second to jump back up to that speed and kind of get it going. So might be a little bit overthinking, or either that, or just a little bit of I had more time when I was playing in the AHL. Now I gotta make decisions quicker and go off of instinct. But he's got good instinct. They'll be there. It'll just take a little bit more time.
Yeah, I mean, they're young, and it's still technically Maxime Comtois' rookie season, and especially for all 4 of the young players we've mentioned many podcasts so far this year, it's going to take some time. So, but we've got other guys on the way too. We talked about this a little bit in the last show, and some of the Ducks players are going to World Junior camps. U.S. finally announced their camp on Monday, so we can kind of talk about the 4 players who could be going to the World Juniors for Anaheim. Trevor Zegras and Trevor Janicki are named to USA camp. Blake McLaughlin was not, and neither was Henry Thrun. I was a bit surprised about Thrun, not so much about Blake McLaughlin because he's kind of struggled a bit this year, but Zegras is pretty much a lock as we could get. Yeah. He's one of 4 freshmen right now to average over a point per game. Cole Caulfield's another, and then 2 other players who were drafted also in 2019. I forget, one of them plays for Harvard. I can't remember the other kid. And then, so I mean, right now Trevor Zegras is averaging more points per game than Alex Turcotte, who was the Kings' 5th overall pick. So that's nice little icing on the cake. I know it's early, but either way, he was a lock pretty much for Team USA. And I know this is camp. This isn't the team yet. You would have to assume Trevor Zegras is still a lock for the team. Nice to see Janicki get at least in camp. We'll have to see whether that translates to him making the team or not, and he'll likely be a role player for the U.S. if he does. But he's playing for a really strong program in Notre Dame, and he's contributing. I think he was second in goals on their team and playing third-line minutes.
Third line, right? Yeah.
So not bad for a guy. I think he was drafted in the 5th round out of the USHL. So it's a big step to go from that league up into the NCAA, especially for a program as big as Notre Dame, and contribute. And hopefully we see both of them. I mean, obviously the big guy we want to see for the U.S. is Trevor Zegras, but it would be nice to see another guy there, because we're used to seeing at least 4 to 5 prospects for the Ducks at this tournament, and we might only see 3 if Janicki doesn't make it this year. So it'd be nice to see at least a 4th.
Yeah. And then who are the other ones?
Yeah, Lucas Dostal. We talked about him on the last show in depth about him potentially.
Czech Republic, right? Goalie.
Yeah. Potentially when he could make his debut for the Ducks in the coming seasons, but he'll be the starting goaltender for the Czech Republic. Again, I think he's pretty much a lock. I don't see him not making it out of their camp. And then Benoit Olivier Groux is at Team Canada's camp, and Braden Tracy was the big snub. Snub, the non-add to that team and not making it. So a bit surprising there, but the Ducks will at least have 3, I would assume, in Zegras, Dostal, and Groux, and the U.S., Canada, and Czech, I think all have title aspirations, especially because the Czech Republic are playing at home. The World Juniors this year are in the Czech Republic, so it'll be a big weight on Lucas Dostal's shoulders to take the home team to gold. But I mean, the way he's been playing, we talked about this on the last show. The way he's been playing in a men's league, a top men's league in the world. The Liga in Finland is arguably either the 2nd or 3rd best league outside the NHL. So the fact that he's a 19-year-old and putting up like almost a .930 save percentage and a goals against average under 2 is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. No, you get anywhere close to 930 in any league. That's damn impressive. So that's somebody to take notice of.
Yeah, and the tournament's on Boxing Day. I know that's your favorite Canadian holiday.
Is that where you guys buy stuff, put them in boxes, and then ship them to your prime minister or something?
Yeah, exactly that, 100%. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah. I know my Canada, right?
December 26th for most of our viewers is Boxing Day, and that's when the World Juniors start. So hopefully. Brand new update. What is it?
Mike Trout really likes that signing. Okay, as you were.
Thanks. All right, cool. I assumed it was baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. He gave it a thumbs up.
How much to get Mike Trout to come play hockey? I feel like he could do it. He seems like he's a good enough athlete.
He seems like one of those people that can just do whatever, wherever, whenever.
He seems like one of those guys who could just pick up a sport and play it pretty well. I'm not going to say I'm not pulling a Jalen Ramsey here and saying, if you give me 3 weeks and I'll play in the NHL.
Yeah, I'll be NHL caliber. I'm not saying he's NHL caliber, but I mean, you put him in, you'd be like, all right, it didn't take him that long, and he's pretty impressive.
Yeah, give him 5 years, or if just it changed his route as a kid to play hockey instead of baseball. He seems like a type of guy who could probably.
Mike Trout's too nice to be a hockey player, I think.
Yeah, he's one of the most laid back superstar athletes in the world. You don't hear much about him, but he's arguably the face of the MLB, and
it's kind of a bro.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, like if you ever hear him talk, he's just like,
you know what I mean? When Tim
Tebow's like uber religious type.
Now, yeah, I mean like how like Tebow was kind of like laid back and like got super famous, was kind of laid back. Now he's like a Sports Center guy now, and he's in baseball. I think he was playing for like the Mets.
Oh yeah, well he tried for for one of the teams, and I don't think it worked out very well for him.
He tried to pull like a Michael Jordan, trying to switch over to baseball.
I can play anywhere. Yeah, it's weird because Mike Trout's from New Jersey, but he's like totally a California guy. So
hockey has to be one of those sports where you can never do that. Like guys. What didn't Bo Jackson went from football to baseball? It always seems like baseball is like everybody's second sport, right? Like all these guys go. Like Michael Jordan went from basketball
because you don't have to be a real big athlete
to the White Sox.
You just got to be good at hitting a ball.
Yeah, Bo Jackson went from the NFL to baseball. Tim Tebow went from the NFL to baseball.
Yeah, Deion Sanders, he did football and baseball.
Russell Wilson apparently like he was drafted by the Texas Rangers, so he can also play football and baseball. That seems to be like the second sport. I feel like there's like no other sport you could do that with. Like I don't think you could go
you can't go hockey and basketball.
Well, I feel like, everybody says LeBron James could play in the NFL. I feel like that's true. I feel like you could if you're like big enough and like athletic enough, I feel like you could go from a sport to the NFL. And I feel like you could probably going to the NBA is a bit different, but I feel like hockey's the only one where you just can't like, because you're athletic, you could just go into hockey.
No,
like,
you
I
have to
feel
skate.
like it's the only sport. Yeah, it's the only sport you can't do that with. But even if you could skate, I just mean like the technical ability involved in it. I just don't think you can just like drop another sport and pick it up just because you're athletic.
Yeah, no, hockey comes. It's a lot of experience and seeing different plays over and over and tendencies and things like that. You've just got to. Unfortunately, I mean, like there's the freaks of the world that are just naturally unbelievable at hockey, but even they had to go through it as kids all the way up to where they are now. But if those who are not innately gifted with hockey, you got to practice, you got to see plays happen, you got to see tendencies and things. And it just takes years of experience before you actually get decent, where it becomes almost second nature to you. So
Shane's pointing out that Michael Jordan was terrible at baseball. Yeah, I never said he was a good baseball player, but the fact that he was able to walk into like a AA, AAA team and like not, even though he's not playing great, to like actually stick around the team and not be the absolute worst player on there, that's saying something about the transition.
I only saw him play a baseball game one time, and then after that, he helped the Looney Tunes beat those aliens for intergalactic peace or something like that.
The second one's coming out with LeBron James, and it's apparently got like a ton of NBA players. I feel like it's gonna be horrible.
Yeah, God, absolutely. That I mean, might just do Kazam 2 or whatever that Shaq one was, or Shazam, or I don't know what it was.
No, it was Shaq Fu. Was that a movie? Yeah.
No, I think that was a video game.
Maybe, I don't know. Shaq has like everything. It's ridiculous. Anyway, let's get back. Let's get back to Ducks hockey here. We're going off board. Garrett asked us a question for today's show. Do you think Shore gets traded? I would assume at any point this season, but before the trade deadline.
Didn't he just score?
Yeah.
He's on a hot
in
streak.
the Winnipeg game, I think he scored.
Yeah, he's on a hot streak. Why would you trade him now?
First of the year.
Yeah, that was first of the year. There's a lot of potential forward trades that could happen. Shore could be one. Sprong could be another one. Sprong's a little bit younger, but I mean, the fact they haven't even tried to call him up, it seems like he's been passed on the depth chart for the most part, and they're fine with either letting him ferment down there or ultimately making him more of a trade option. I don't know who you trade Shore for that all of a sudden impacts the Ducks any better.
Fifth round pick, fourth round if you're lucky. Like at this point, right? Like, why not? The more draft picks you can add, the more players you can get in the system now, the better. I mean, I trust the Ducks drafting ability to get a serviceable player in the fourth or fifth round. We were just talking about Trevor Yannicki possibly making the World Juniors for the U.S., he's a 5th-round pick, and Blake McLaughlin, I think, is a 3rd-round pick. And he made the U.S. team last year, and has been, when we had the draft analyst on the show, he was talking about how Blake McLaughlin was a steal. So if you can get, a 4th or a 5th-round pick for Devin Shore, and right now you're scratching him some games and he's in and out of the lineup, why not? I mean, the Ducks are missing a 4th-round pick, I think, this year, so they have a pick in every round except the 4th. Pick something up. We talked about trading Eric Goodbranson. Trade him for some picks if you can, whatever the pick is that you can get. Same goes for maybe some other depth players for the Ducks that they might
he's
not.
He's definitely not untouchable, but I mean, the fact he's only got 1 goal this season, I don't think you got high value on it. And at least
right.
I would think you get, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think teams would be more on getting Sprong and the fact that he's still really young and he's got a good offensive upside. And a lot of times teams will overlook the defensive side and possibly kind of overpay just to be able to get someone who might pump a little bit of offense in there. And Sprong has shown that, at times, but they really don't like his, defensive game. They want him to work on it right now. At least the Ducks do. So I feel like he's probably more of that candidate to move on. I think they're kind of over that experiment with him. So I figured he's probably a little bit more ready to move. In my opinion,
I think he still has value too, because he is young and he was a high 2nd-round pick. Had some promise, played well in the QMJHL, is playing well in the AHL right now. I think of any of the players we mentioned, he probably has the highest value and is probably the guy I would trade over any of them. I know there's a lot of people who still want to see
Sprong
play and get another chance. I just think, you look at who the Ducks have long term on right wing, there's no point in having a player like Sprong play bottom 6 minutes. I just don't see the value in that, especially right now where the Ducks
unless he can prove himself as a solid 3rd-line guy. If he's a solid 3rd, then I'm on board. But
right now you've got Silverberg, Cash, and Terry, right? Like, do you want Sprong playing over one of those guys long term? You know what I mean? Like next, right now, maybe you could argue Sprong should be in there over Troy Terry, just the way Troy Terry's playing. But in 2-3 years, no. And will you even have Sprong? Will you have lost Sprong for nothing at that point because you didn't re-sign him or his value's gone down? I think his value's as high as it's going to get right now. It's probably higher last year. But I think if he's not in your long-term plans, get something for him before you lose him for nothing.
Well, how long's Kasha going to stay around?
Yeah,
health-wise.
Health-wise and potential bigger trade piece, right? We talked. You mentioned that in the last show, and if the Ducks end up going big and trying to make a swing for something, Andre Kasha still might be the guy that ends up moving out for that because he was involved in trade discussions for Justin Falk, right? So he is definitely interested in him despite the injury issues. So. If Andre Kasha goes, then maybe Sprong sticks around to get called up and play top 6 minutes, and it would be Silverberg, Sprong, and Terry, right? So there is that possibility that we see a bigger move on that end if Sprong is going to stick around.
Yeah, I don't know. The feeling I get is that they're no longer high on Sprong, and it doesn't seem like he's got what they want or what they hoped out of him, and so I think they have him here until maybe the right move happens. So I'm more on that they probably move Sprong, even though I'd like to see him get a shot. But even if they do, he doesn't strike me as a 3rd-line guy yet. He's just not consistent enough. Maybe that changes, but that's how I feel. Okay.
Apparition was wondering in the chat. He said, hasn't Sprong struggled in the AHL this year? I wouldn't say he struggled. He has 15 points in 19 games. That's not lighting the world on fire, but that's not struggling in the AHL. I think on the goals, that's relatively good. And when he was
goals struggled a little earlier too.
Yeah, if you can score around a point per game in the AHL, that's pretty good. That's not bad at all. And I think when Sprong was with Wilkes-Barre 2 seasons ago, he had 65 points in 65 games. So a little bit below that pace right now. But that's still valuable for some teams to see that a guy's putting up close to a point per game in the AHL and a guy who, Sprong's 23, I think. Yeah. So there is still some value there in terms of being a young player who was once, supposed to be a pretty valuable player in this league in terms of a guy who could potentially move into a top 6. There's still teams that are going to want that. Plus, he has no attitude issues. Like Josh was saying, as a guy, I think this is directly comparable with in terms of production in the AHL, struggling in the NHL, but Ho-Sang has attitude issues, and that's well known. So I think the value on him is low, but I think there would be suitors for Daniel Sprong. He's a very good shooter, a pure goal scorer. Has some issues in other areas that he needs to work on, but teams are always looking for that buy low, high risk, high reward type option where they can kind of go out and if they have to pay a 3rd round pick, but he could pay off and score 20 goals for you. So there's always teams looking for that type of guy.
Yeah, they're always looking at, every NHL team is looking for goals. The Ducks, I think, are happy with what they have and what they're developing currently, and they're not willing to put him in over anybody else and have him be more of a defensive liability. Where other teams are like, hey, if he nets us some goals, especially like get him at the trade deadline or something like that, we think we can plug him in and give him 3rd line or maybe 2nd power play line minutes and see if there's a shot in the arm that kind of helps out and he gets reinvigorated because he's playing the NHL again. There's value there, but yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, Operation says if some team really wanted Sprong, they would have just claimed him off waivers for free. I kind of get where you're coming from there. I think the timing of when Sprong was placed on waivers at the beginning of the season, when teams were already dealing with their own roster, trying to finalize their roster and sending guys down, nobody ever really gets claimed at that time of year because teams are trying to finalize their own rosters. If they take on a player, then they have to send somebody down. And they're trying not to do that as it begins with. And I don't think Sprong was valuable enough that teams were saying, I want to put myself in that position where I go over the roster limit and I have to completely, I have to make another move to try and get, trade a guy out to be at the roster limit. So I think that's maybe why he wasn't claimed. I think if you put him on waivers now, at this point in the season with injuries and everything involved, I think he'd be claimed. I think he'd be claimed. Even if he he was producing at the not a great level in the NHL, but he had these numbers in the AHL. Like if you called him up today and sent him down in whenever he was had to go through waivers again, I think he'd be claimed.
Maybe that's why they haven't really tried to bring him up this season, because they know if he can't hold the fort here, they probably lose him for nothing. So yeah, all the more reason I think he's probably more tradable at this point. I would think. Yeah,
I think some team would be interested in whether the Ducks want to move him or not. We'll have to see. But Dave says Ducks needs goals. Is one player in Sprong going to really affect the team D in terms of Sprong just not being a great player defensively to bring him up and get goals and kind of take that hit in your own zone? I don't think he's really going to affect the team D individually.
I don't think he's going to affect the team enough on the offensive side either. So I don't think bringing him in all of a sudden he's going to be a goal scorer that just like I said, shot in the arm that works. I mean, there's always that chance, but it's a gamble, and if it's not paying off now, he's up.
Yeah, and I think he has to go through waivers, like you said. I think to call him up right now, I might be wrong, but I believe he has to go through waivers to call him up right now. So you risk losing him at that point for nothing if a team claims him, which I honestly think with some of the injuries teams have right now and teams looking for goal scoring. Yeah. Somebody will
tell
claim
me Detroit wouldn't try and take him.
Was just claimed off waivers. Nick Shore was claimed off waivers. The Leafs sent down Nick Shore, and he got claimed off waivers by the Winnipeg Jets. You're telling me the Winnipeg Jets aren't going to claim Daniel Sprong? I'm sure the Winnipeg Jets are claiming everybody. Like they will claim Daniel Sprong if no other team claims him. Somebody will take him if he has to go through waivers.
Well, speaking of Dave, I hope he waives me because I'm sure I can play Winnipeg now.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going pro, people.
You just need to be put on waivers right now. I mean, you're better than Lucas Speaks.
You know what? How do I just sign up to be on waivers? I just want to be on waivers. Winnipeg will take me.
You gotta have a team who's interested. Why not just go direct to the source? Apparently, Brett lives in Winnipeg.
I'll just go right up to the Winnipeg arena, knock on the door, say, I'm on waivers.
You got a place to stay.
Oh yeah.
Be like, hey,
I can stay with Brett. You guys don't have to hook me up with a hotel.
Yeah.
I
heard you guys were looking for players. I can be a third string goalie, emergency backup goalie. Just pay me $1,000 a night, even if I'm not playing, and there you go.
500. Just give me free gear.
Yeah, $41,000 a year. It's Canadian though, so.
That's
why I said 1,000, because then at least you're making 82,000 Canadian, and it's not too bad. All right. Last thing we have to get to before we move into a couple NHL topics. Quick preview of the upcoming games. Ducks play the Kings tomorrow. The lowly Western Conference basement team, the LA Kings.
They're on a 1-game winning streak. Don't you dare.
Actually, are they winning? Yeah, are they Western Conference basement, or is Chicago worse than them right now?
Yeah, they are. They are. No, I think they're 26 points, and I think Chicago's 30. I want to say.
Yeah,
and then we're 32.
So. Yeah. So it's close.
Something like that, 31 or something like that. I don't
know. How do you think? Well, we beat the LA Kings last time we played them, 4-2, right? So this game is this game in LA or in Anaheim?
It's in Anaheim. We're home for Anaheim and home against the Rangers. I think we win this one.
For Anaheim with quotation marks, because it's going to be about 50-50 at Honda Center.
Yeah, well, depends how many people show up, but I think this is another win for us. The Kings are still struggling, and they didn't really look all that great when we played them. We didn't look extremely awesome either, but I feel like I said, we played against the Washington Capitals, a good team. We only lost 3-2 in that one. Then we play Winnipeg, lose 3-2 in that one. Winnipeg's playing good. Minnesota's playing good. We win that one 3-2. So I mean, even the games we are losing, we're not losing by much, and we don't really look out of the games. So us coming back, it wasn't a really long road trip. So I think we're in a good spot. They might be feeling high because they beat up on the Rangers. But I don't know. I feel the Ducks have more firepower and a little bit more consistency in net, and the Kings kind of struggle to put up goals too. Their goal differentials was that minus 20, 21 or something like that.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, they're not playing great hockey right now. 29th in goals per game, 25th in goals against average, power play and penalty killer, both 30th in the league. So it's another tough year for the Kings. They did just beat the Rangers 3-1, and that's who the Ducks are going to be playing on Saturday. And I wish Pat was here because I could give you an update on our bet. The Rangers are now 10 points clear of the New Jersey Devils. The Devils have lost 5 in a row.
Pat's got to stop making bets.
Yeah.
He's got to start making bets with me.
He was so confident. The New Jersey Devils. You were on his side.
I wasn't as confident. I wasn't as confident as he was, but after everything the Devils did and who they got and what they got, I was just like, I mean, I thought it'd be pretty close, but I just thought the Devils were like they're younger, up and coming, and I wasn't quite sure how the Rangers were going to do goaltending wise. Lo and behold, Georgiev is playing out of his mind. Lundqvist is looking good too, and New Jersey can't find a goalie to actually stop a puck. So it's that's the other place I should go knock on.
Too, he said. Yeah, I I did not waver. I was 100% certain. I'm not even bullshitting now. I was 100% certain the Rangers were going to finish. We can go back, and I'll pull the audit from this. I was dead set the Rangers were going to be a better team than the Devils.
Oh, you were happy to take that bet, I remember.
And it's just, I mean, the goaltending for Pat brought that bet about, but the goaltending for New Jersey has been what we kind of expect. It's been awful. But anyway, we're talking about the Rangers.
This bad. I really didn't think it would be this bad. I mean, there's like, all right, we got to get rid of Schneider. We got to bring in Louis Domingue. He's not doing anything. Blackwood, I thought, for a time last year, he looked pretty decent. This year, no. Bring in Subban, you bring in Hughes, Taylor Hall's healthy.
Nothing they've brought in has really helped, right? Like Gusev was supposed to be Panarin.
Wade Simmons.
And that didn't work. Wayne Simmons hasn't worked. Subban has been really bad. Jack Hughes has not come and lit the world on fire. I mean, the Rangers were kind of the one, if the Devils were 1A and having the best offseason, the Rangers were 1B because they brought in Panarin and Trouba and they brought in Kako. And like all of a sudden, like as much as everything didn't work out for the Devils, it's all working out for the Rangers. I mean, Trouba's got 17 points in 30 games. He's playing really well lately. Panarin has 37
Plus,
points
they just signed that
games.
Pitcher.
Yeah, plus Garrett Cole is going to be playing for the New York Rangers until the Yankees season starts. But and even Kako is played pretty well. And then like the Rangers just got like guys out of nowhere just having really good years. Like Tony DeAngelo has 21 points this year for a defenseman, and Ryan Strome has 26 points in 30 games. So like, Zibanejad, the way Zibanejad started the season was like I forget, he was like way out in front of everybody. He had like 8 points in 2 games or something.
Did he get injured or something?
And now, yeah, he's been injured. I think he's just getting back. But the Rangers have just been winning games kind of without him and then getting good goaltending. So I think out of the 2 matches this upcoming week, I think the Rangers one is going to be the tough one. Is that one in Honda Center? Or is that one?
Yeah, that's Honda Center. I think it's a 1 p.m. Saturday game. So
right. So that might be their saving grace there. But the Rangers are they have some weapons. I mean, they definitely have some weapons.
Well, they couldn't beat the Kings, so.
Yeah. So that's the way the Rangers have been this year. They've got those weapons that can hurt you, but then there's games like that where they just like don't look good against the Kings. I think these are 2 winnable games for the Ducks.
For sure.
I think that Rangers game is going to be a bit tougher. It might be a goaltending duel depending on who the Ducks face, whether it's Lundqvist or Georgiev. But the Kings one has to be. It has to be a must-win in terms of not wanting to fall further in the basement of the Western Conference. I mean, if you lose that game, the Kings gain 2 points out of you, and you're only 2 points out of the bottom of the Western Conference instead of giving yourself a 4-point cushion on the other end. So that's got to be a must-win at this point.
Yeah, and I think once again with Josh Manson coming back in defensively, I think we'll get a lot better and. These are more bottom teams than the last 3 teams we've played, so I feel we can build off of that win in Minnesota and how decent enough we played against the other teams without Josh Manson. So I'm more confident on these 2 games. I think they'll be fun to watch either way. I think.
Yeah, we're bringing it back because we haven't had it in the last show. Pat kiboshed this whole thing. The shootout brought to you by Cool Hockey is back because we're bringing it back.
Why did you kibosh it?
I don't know. I don't really know. I'm just gonna blame Pat because
sounds fair. I'm on board.
I can blame him. So
defend yourself.
Anyway, it's back. The shootout is back. We're gonna talk some NHL stuff. I think it was because we have Patreon shows that do NHL stuff, so that makes sense. But there are some sort of Ducks related news. I guess Pacific Division California team related news. First thing is, who would have thought this? 3 worst teams in the Pacific Division this year are the California teams. LA is the worst, Anaheim second worst, and San Jose, that's the big surprise, is the 3rd worst team in the conference. And because of that, they fired their coach today. Peter DeBoer is no longer head coach of the San Jose Sharks, and they completely, I've never seen this, they completely revamped their entire coaching staff middle of the season. Not just head coach. They brought in the interim coach, and then they have 2 new assistant coaches, and then the goalie coach. Like Evgeny Dubakov is their new goalie coach. So they got rid of everybody, and they had to make it clear that this was because they were losing. This was not.
I know it's a new NHL.
This was we're losing, and we're firing the coach because we're bad.
Yeah, he didn't smack anyone and use any foul language or unacceptable behavior. It was just he sucks, and we have to tell you he's not where we want it to be right now. That's the NHL climate right now. So they started horrible, and you thought maybe they were going to be in the hot seat anyways, and then they really turned it around. Started climbing back up. Their standings a little bit, and now I think they've lost 5 straight, and they've had just horrible games, and that roller coaster is not something you want to see if you're a GM watching a team as talented as San Jose is. And so when a team isn't playing with a whole lot of fire or that swagger that they should probably have, it just seems like every game is a struggle, is a battle. Even when they're winning, you just didn't quite feel like it was the same San Jose team. So something had to change, and they cleared house. And it's like, hey, we're getting a fresh start, and so there's literally no excuses for the players at this point. They're talented enough; they should be able to do it. So hopefully, it's a move in the right direction. From their perspective, not from mine or any Anaheim fan perspective. So,
are you taking a shower at the same time as recording here?
No, unfortunately, this is running a little long, so it is what it is. So we got water running, but that's about it.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll drop it here then. And we'll pick up on some of the stuff on our next show. We'll be back on Sunday with hopefully Pat. Hopefully the three of us will be back, and we'll be talking about the games against the Kings and the Rangers. And we're also going to be talking about the World Cup of Hockey a bit, because that was something we had slated for today. No World Cup of Hockey in 2021, maybe 2024, maybe 2028. And I want to talk about how bad the Detroit Red Wings are. So that will be some of our stuff coming up on Sunday. Stay tuned on social media for any updates for when we're going to go live. We'll try better to promote it than we did with this show. It's kind of a last minute thing. That's kind of.
We got lives, people. It's a little bit more difficult than it was last season, but we're doing it.
But yeah, so we're going to try and be definitely better about that, and we do have some Patreon shows coming up. Soon. I think have we done Pucks and Brews for December yet or no?
Oh no, actually, we've kind of missed a few of our Patreon. We haven't missed; they just haven't happened yet. So
yeah,
we got a few.
Dave said you have Patreon shows with a question mark, and Shane said there's no fucking Patreon shows. So there are. Okay, calm down. There are Patreon.
They are
shows.
Happening.
They are happening.
It's December.
We have been consistently giving Patreon the shows we have guaranteed you have come out at some point in the month. Maybe they don't all come out to the end of the month, but they've been there. So we will have Pucks and Brews for December. We will have a rant show for December. The one thing we do owe you guys is another game show. So we owe you a game show for November and a game show for December. But all of those shows at some point will be out in December for our Patreon members. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's it from me. I will talk to you guys on Sunday.
All right. Bye, guys.